Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Those who are interested in reviving Krishna consciousness and increasing the love of Godhead do not like to do anything that is not related to Krishna. They are not interested in mingling with people who are busy maintaining their bodies, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They are not attached to their homes, although they may be householders. Nor are they attached to wives, children, friends, or wealth. At the same time, they are not indifferent to the execution of their duties. Such people are interested in collecting only enough money to keep the body and soul together. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Whether he is an impersonalist or a devotee, one who is actually interested in advancing spiritually should not mingle with those who are simply interested in maintaining the body by means of the so-called advancement of civilization. Those who are interested in spiritual life should not be attached to homely comfort in the company of wives, children, friends, and so forth. Even if one is a gṛheṣu and has to earn his livelihood, he should be satisfied by collecting only enough money to maintain body and soul together. One should not have more than that, nor less than that. As indicated herein, a householder should endeavor to earn money for the execution of bhakti yoga. Saranam, Kachanam, Vishnu, Swanam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandyam, Darsam, Satyam, Atmanimedam. A householder should live such a life that he gets full opportunity to hear and chant. He should worship the deity at hand, observe festivals, invite friends in, and give them prasad. A householder should earn money for this purpose, not for self-gratification. It will work for householders. Om Jnana-Timirandasya Jnananjana-Shalakya Chakshurmilitanjana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Satkam Yena Bhutale Shayanupatadana Dadati Swapadantikam. Mandaham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakam and Shri Guru Vaisnavanasa. Shri Rupam Sajagatam Sahajana Raguna Sanvitam Thamsadevam. Sadvaitam Savadhuntam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahajana Lalita Shri Vichathanitam Sa. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. mayīśe kṛta-sauhṛdārthā, janeṣu dehambhara-vārtikeṣu, jāyātmaja-rātimatsu, prīti-yuktā yāvad-arthāś loke. So, we are lecturing on Lord Vishnu's teaching. This is the third verse in this very important chapter in which the path of Bhagavad Dharma has been presented. In the two verses that we discussed yesterday and day before, Maharaj Vishnudev has emphasized A, the importance of austerity for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. B, he has explained that when you perform austerity, there will be spiritual happiness. And the nature of the spiritual happiness is that it will never increase. Then C, in the verse that we discussed yesterday, Maharaj Vishnudev has explained Mahatseva, the importance of serving the pure devotee of the Lord, and how, by associating and serving the advanced devotees, Maharaj Vishnudev said, one can make spiritual advancement. Now, in this verse that we are discussing today, Maharaj Vishnudev is further making additional points. First point he makes is that those who are interested in making spiritual advancement, they do not like to do anything that is not related to Krishna. Yesterday, I was mentioning to all of you Sanatana Goswami, the instructions that Sanatana Goswami received from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was instructing Sanatana Goswami, he quoted a verse from the Padma Purana. And that verse from the Padma Purana says the following. It says, three things every devotee must always do. One, always remember Krishna. Two, never forget Krishna. So all other rules that we follow, whether it is getting up a Mangalarti or chanting or reading, all these rules, Padma Purana says, are claimed in front of these. The two masters or two goals that every devotee must realize are A, always remember Krishna, B, never forget Krishna. So Prabhupada, in the purport of this verse, explains that in order to be able to reach this position, where we always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna, two things are important. One, we must chant our 16 rounds very attentively. Then we will be able to remember Krishna. Because when you chant Hare Krishna, you are listening to the holy names of the Lord. And the holy names of the Lord are non-different from the Lord. Nama Chintami Krishna Chaitanya Vigraha Puno Shuddha Nitya Mukto Bhanna Svam Nama Naminaha. The Padma Purana explains that the holy names of the Lord are non-different from the Lord, and that they are purifying, they are completely pure, and they give us complete bliss. So, one is chant the holy name. Two, Prabhupada says, is to engage in practical devotional service. When you engage in practical devotional service, you are remembering that I am doing this service for Krishna. Just like book distribution. When you go out on book distribution, you know that you are distributing Krishna to everyone. So automatically you are thinking, I am distributing Krishna to everyone. So automatically you will think of Krishna. Suppose you are going out for making rice membership. Prabhupada explains these 2 points in the purport. Then if you are thinking, I am making this person a devotee of Krishna, I am trying to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, automatically you will remember him. Suppose you are cleaning the floor, and you are thinking, I must keep the temple very clean, because this is Krishna's property, and Krishna doesn't like anything dirty. Krishna likes cleanliness. Cleanliness is one of the 4 principles of religion. So you are always thinking, I must keep this temple clean, I must keep the ashram clean, I must keep the kitchen clean, I must keep the altar clean, because this is all Krishna's property. Then automatically you will think of Krishna. Isn't it? So the point is that when you are serving, for example, when you are cooking for Krishna, if you are constantly thinking when you are in the kitchen, that this is for Krishna, this is not for my tongue, therefore I must do the best I can, then automatically you will be champion of Krishna. So the 2 goals that we have to realize is, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And from morning to night, every activity that you do, you have to see whether this activity is going to enable you to remember Krishna, or whether this activity is going to make you forget Krishna. If the activity is going to make you forget Krishna, then do not do that activity. If, for example, you have to go to a nightclub to sell some books, and if you're going to go inside a nightclub and you see all the discotheque, all these agents of Maya, and you think that's going to disturb you, then don't do it. The point is, you must not forget Krishna, and you should always remember Krishna. So, Maharaj Sukadeva is saying that those who are interested in Krishna consciousness, they do not like to do anything which is not related to Krishna. It is just like a fish. A fish does not like to come out of water, isn't it? You give the fish a choice. You tell the fish, do you want to come out of water and live on a golden plate, or do you want to live inside water? The fish will say, I want to live inside water. If you give the human beings a choice, do you want to live on earth, or do you want to live in a boat all your life? They'll say, I want to live on earth. So, a devotee is not interested in anything who is not interested in Krishna. Then, another point Vishwadev says, they're not interested in mingling with people, or busy maintaining the body, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So this point we had briefly discussed yesterday also. That is, a devotee of the Lord is not interested in associating with worldly-minded people. We will associate with worldly-minded people only as long as it is necessary, but not a minute beyond that. For example, when you go out on book distribution, on St. Catherine Street or wherever, of course you are associating with worldly-minded people. Of course, all around you, you see gross materialists. But we do not associate with them more than we have to. Just like, suppose you stop somebody on the street and tell him, sir, please take a book. So it is not that you want to socialize with this person for 2 hours before telling him, please buy a book. No. You want to associate with him only as long as it is necessary, not beyond that. So, you do not associate with those who are worldly-minded. Why? Because that will contaminate your heart. That will contaminate your mind. Therefore, one has to be very careful in the association that you select. Now, Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastra Lava Matra. Now, lava means what is the smallest value of time? A second, isn't it? You have the hours, less than the hour is a minute, isn't it? And less than a minute is a second. Now, there is something that is less than a second also. And what is that? That is lava matra. Lava matra means 1/11th of a second. Can you imagine? 1/11th of a second is lava matra. So if you associate with a pure devotee, even for 1/11th of a second, Chaitanya Charitamrita says, you can get more value than reading all the Vedic scriptures. Just lava matra, 1/11th of a second. You can't even calculate 1/11th of a second. Just like when we tell the conditioned soul that the Atma is 1/10,000 on the tip of your hair. They can't even understand it because of you. So similarly, only if you associate with a pure devotee for even 1/11th of 1 second, you can understand the purport of all the Vedas. Why? Because a pure devotee is only interested in talking about Krishna. So even if you associate with him for 1 fraction of a second, you will still get benefit. Now the Muni was explaining to Dhruva Maharaj different types of associations that one can have. He said there are 3 different types of associations that we can obtain. You can associate with those who are more advanced. You can associate with those who are equally advanced. You can associate with those who are less advanced. When you associate with those who are more advanced than you become very happy. Why? Because here is an opportunity to ask questions by which you can destroy your mature desires. Just like, suppose you're suffering from a disease for a long time, chronic disease, Sometimes people have so many diseases. So anyway, suppose an expert doctor comes in front of him. Then he is very happy, isn't it? He can ask that doctor how to cure the disease, isn't it? So similarly, when you are associating with somebody who is more advanced, then you should ask him, how can I give up Maya? That's all. Not that how can I get sense gratification. Just like in the material world, we all say, how are you, how are you? So Maharaj Dasaratha was the father of Lord Ramachandra. So whenever somebody would come into his palace, the first question he would ask, how is your progress on the journey back to Godhead? So when we meet each other, we should ask each other, what is your spiritual progress? Not how are you. So, when you associate with somebody who is more advanced, one is happy. One is overjoyed. One is overjoyed just like the peacock. You know, in Montreal you don't see too many peacocks, but if you go to Vrindavan you will see a lot of peacocks. So, in the rainy season, when the clouds first come out, the peacocks are very happy. So when the peacocks see the clouds in the sky, they go out and they begin to dance. Just like the Chinese dance when they hear music, so the peacocks begin to dance when they see the clouds in the sky. So the Bhagavatam explains that just like the peacock dance when they see the clouds, a devotee dances when he has the opportunity for associating or serving an advanced devotee. Then, second is associating with those who are equally advanced. In that case, one is happy. Why? Because at least you can talk Krishna Katha. You can't talk about Krishna with somebody who's a gross materialist. Therefore, when we meet each other, we should be engaged only in Krishna conversations, soft conversations related to Krishna. And then, when you associate with somebody who is less advanced, then one becomes compassionate. Para dukha dukhi is characteristic of a devotee. And that compassion is displayed by the desire to spread the mission of the Lord, by the desire to spread the glories of the Lord. So, three different types of associations that the Mahadevan explains one can possibly obtain. So the devotee is not interested in associating with those who are grossly worldly minded because he knows that this association is going to be very disturbing to his spiritual advancement. Therefore, one should be very careful with the association one chooses. And one should try to associate with advanced devotees and those who are equally advanced. Of course, in a temple, obviously you have some devotees who are more advanced and some who are less advanced. Now, the advanced devotees in the temple should not tell the less advanced, I'm not going to associate with you yet. You are advanced for me. No. That means the devotees become proud. Humility is important. But when you see some devotee who is less advanced, then you try to help him. You try to tell that for devotee, Prabhu, please make these for improvements so that the less advanced also becomes more advanced. So now the Rishabh Dev is saying, not to associate with those who are worldly minded. Then, Rishabh Dev talks about the householders. What does he say about householders? They're not attached to their homes, wives, children, etc. Now, you may say, what does this mean? As householders, you have to be sannyasis? No. Of course, there's a terminology known as grihastha sannyas. And that means in the grihastha ashram, you should be detached. But, Maharaj Rishabh says, they will do their duty, but they're not attached, nevertheless. So, Krishna doesn't say, don't do your duty. Just like if a householder is married, he has wife and children, obviously he has to take care of them. But one should understand that if I'm taking care of someone, I'm taking care on behalf of the spiritual master and the Lord. And therefore, my business is to make sure that they become Krishna conscious so that they can achieve the goal of life. If, on the other hand, our householder is only interested in making money, with no concentration on spiritual activities, then that is meaningless. Then that becomes grihamedi. It doesn't become grihastha. Grihastha life means, as Prabhupada explains in this purport, when the grihastha is engaged in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smarnam, Padam, Sevaham, Ashram, Vandam, Dasram, Satyam, Advanamidam. So, if one is leading a very simple life, then this is certainly possible. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, first canto, there are very nice instructions which were given by Bhishma Dev to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Bhishma Dev, as you know, was a very great warrior. Yesterday we told you one story related to Bhishma Dev. So Bhishma Dev, all his life, was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Now for diplomatic reasons, he fought a battle on the side of the Kauravas, who supposedly were the enemies of the Pandavas. But in his heart, Bhishma Dev always wanted the Pandavas to win the battle. So Bhishma Dev, he had received one benediction, and that benediction was that he could choose his moment of death. He could decide when he wants to die. Just like in Satya Yuga. In Satya Yuga, everyone had the free choice. They could die when they wanted to die. If he had that benediction in Kali Yuga, nobody would die, isn't it? If in Kali Yuga people have the benediction, you can die when you want to, everyone would say, I'm not ready yet. But in Satya Yuga, everybody had that benediction. They could die when they wanted to die. So, but still, after living for 100,000 years, the people would voluntarily die. So Bhishma Dev had that benediction. So when the battle of Kurukshetra was over, and Yudhishthira Maharaj became the king, so Bhishma Dev thought, now there is no need for me to live anymore. Let me prepare to die. So Bhishma Dev was lying down on a bed of arrows. You and I, when we are walking and we step on a thorn, we shout, isn't it? We want to sleep on a very soft mattress and so on. But Bhishma Dev was lying on a bed of arrows. Imagine. And Krishna and all the great sages, Narada Muni, Vyasadeva, the Pandavas, they all came at his bedside. Just like when a big man is dying, all his relatives, everyone come and stand on his bedside, isn't it? Of course, the relatives are just praying how much money they're going to get. They're just worried that the will is not open till the man dies. Everyone just speculating what takes care of the will is. But the Pandavas and Narada Muni, Vyasadeva, they all came at the bedside to offer their respect to Bhishma Dev. Now, Krishna wanted to show something to the world. He wanted to show that my devotee is in all conditions in sound mind. So Krishna told Yudhishthira, you please ask Bhishma Dev, what is the Bhagavad Dharma, what is the occupational duty for a human being? Just because Krishna wanted to show to everyone that even though Bhishma Dev was old, dying by lying down on a bed of arrows, still he was perfectly in control of his mind. Just like we saw this even in the case of Prabhupada. Prabhupada was leaving his body. Physically, he was very sick. He cannot even sit down or read or write or even hold a microphone. So he had his disciples helping him do everything. But still Prabhupada was translating the Bhagavatam. And that is how he translated 10 canto part 3. We saw with our own eyes. So the point is, Krishna wants to show that even though my devotee may be physically sick or old or whatever, still he is completely in control of his mind. So Bhishma Dev gave Yudhishthira Maharaj many important instructions about what to do with human life. So one of the instructions he gave was simple living. He said a devotee of the Lord must live very simply. So if one is living very simply, then one can, even in the grihastha ashram, remain totally detached. But if one wants to have a very opulent lifestyle, then it is not going to be possible to lead a simple detached life. So, Mahavishnu is saying as householders, we should just go on duty. But we should not keep more than necessary. So as householders, one may have duty towards children, wives, etc. But the mentality of the householder should be, I have to deliver these individuals back to Godhead. So I have to see how I can engage in my grihastha responsibility and at the same time do Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu-smarana. Not that I'm going to become a grihastha and I'm going to work so hard like a Mura, first I'm going to buy a house, then a car, then some bank balance, then I'm going to start chanting my 16 rounds. Then I'm going to start doing service in the temple. No. That is not the spiritual philosophy. That is not the material philosophy. The Prabhupada very clearly says in the purport, a householder should endeavor to earn money for the execution of bhakti yoga. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu-smarana, Padasena. So a householder, in the householder ashram, one has a responsibility. And the responsibility is, you have a dual challenge. One is a challenge of maintaining a grihastha life, and the other is how to practice bhakti yoga. So the most important thing is that bhakti yoga should not be compromised. Whatever may happen, a devotee should not compromise with the process of bhakti yoga. Because if one compromises with the path of bhakti yoga, then one will be considered to be very unfortunate. Brahmanda Brahmita Kono Bhagavano Di Guru Krishna Kṛta-sauhṛdārthā Bhakti Lata Di. After traveling through many millions of births and deaths, as he the fortunate soul who came, who received Bhakti Lata Di, the seed of devotional service that is planted in the heart by the spiritual master. So, whether we are brahmachari or gṛheṣu or vanaprastha or sannyas, it does not matter. The important thing is that we must become Krishna conscious. Therefore, Vishnu Purana says, Kannāśama chata vata parapusena parapuman Vishnu aradate. That regardless of which one or ashrama one may belong to, one must remember Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, yesterday we were discussing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to Sanatana Goswami. And I had discussed the first 5 of the instructions. These are instructions that everybody must follow if he wants to make spiritual advancement. And the 5 that I had discussed yesterday was, one must accept a bona fide spiritual master, one must serve a bona fide spiritual master, one must initiate one must be initiated from a bona fide spiritual master, one must inquire from the spiritual master how to make spiritual advancement, and one must follow the previous parampara. Now, there are in addition other points also that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said everybody must follow. So whether you're sannyasi or brahmachari or gṛheṣu does not matter. We all have to follow the same spiritual standard. That is, one should be the 6th point is, one should be prepared to give up anything for the sake of Krishna's satisfaction. Just like we have seen that many times in order to become Krishna conscious, a devotee has to sacrifice some relationships. We have seen that sometimes when a husband and wife want to come to Krishna, the husband wants to come to Krishna consciousness, the wife doesn't want to come, and sometimes the husband is determined that he just goes ahead and becomes Krishna conscious, even if he has to sacrifice a relationship. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, one must be willing to give up anything for the satisfaction of Krishna. And if by some adjustment you can become Krishna conscious, then certainly we must realize Krishna consciousness. Then it says, one must live in a place where Krishna is present. Now, Krishna is present wherever he is worshipped. Of course, Krishna is there in Vrindavan, Mathura, Mayapur, but actually Krishna is present everywhere. So the best is, of course, you live close to a temple, because today Maya is so strong that if you go and see the deities every day, it will at least help you to remember Krishna. But then, even if you are living away from the temple, gṛheṣu is advised that he shall have a temple in his house. So a gṛheṣu can have deities in his house. And a gṛheṣu must also do Mangal Arati every day. So by doing Mangal Arati and having deities in the house, automatically you will remember Krishna. Then, one should acquire a livelihood which is just enough to keep body and soul together. So this point we have discussed that since simple living, high thinking is our philosophy, we should not endeavor to live in a very opulent manner. Then one must fast on Ekadasi day. So on Ekadasi day, we must fast for grain. On Ekadasi day, we must minimize our eating and sleeping so that we can maximize our effort in spiritual activities. Then first was giving up the association of non-devotees, which we have already discussed. Then one should not keep unlimited number of disciples. This is the advice, because the spiritual master has to take on the karma of the disciple. So if unqualified, if the disciple is not qualified, then it is just a liability on the spiritual master. Then one should not study many scriptures just to give references. In other words, Prabhupada has given us certain basic scriptures. Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhakti Rasamrita, Sindhu. So Prabhupada explains that one should just study these scriptures and there's no need to study any other scriptures, because everything that we need to know is contained in these scriptures. Therefore, there's no need to read all the scriptures. We have seen practically that in the early days when Prabhupada was on this planet, sometimes some devotees, they had a habit of reading every book, even the books other than Prabhupada. And Prabhupada did not like that. And these devotees then started thinking that they know more than Prabhupada. So they started then criticizing Prabhupada indirectly. And in the end, they all ended up in Maya. So we should only read the books that give us the basic philosophy. And once we master those books, then we can go to others. Everybody is happy when he makes a profit. But when he makes a loss, he becomes very sad. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, whether it's loss or gain, be understood. This is called dhira. Hatras is called there se socha sukha dukkha ekama paira nitya santa deshambhara-vārtikeṣu. Krishna says in the second chapter how one should become a dhira or equipoised in all conditions, happiness or distress, victory or defeat, heat or cold. Then the devotee should not be overwhelmed by lamentation. This means that the devotee should not always be lamenting, oh, I've lost this, now I've come to spiritual life, I have left Maya behind, I left behind my friends and a comfortable room and all my record collection and all that. So you can lament when you come to spiritual life that I have left something behind. You have left nothing behind. Raghunath Goswami gives a very bold statement. He says, so just like after passing through, you don't meditate on a stool, but you flush it away. Similarly, after you come to spiritual life, don't lament about what you have left behind. Because if you're going to lament about what you have left behind, then you will not think that devotional service is important. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, one should not be lamenting that I have left behind something, when there is nothing that you have left behind. Then, next point is, the devotees should not worship demigods. And the devotees should not criticize in other scriptures. For example, we follow the Bhagavad Gita, but we don't criticize the Bible or the Quran. We respect the Bible and the Quran. We may criticize that people are interpreting the Quran and the Bible, just like they're giving their own interpretation of the Gita. But we do not say that the Quran and the Gita and the Bible, for example, are not bona fide scriptures. They are bona fide scriptures, and we would want people to follow the Old Testament. Hence, the devotees' 18th point is, the devotees should not hear Krishna or his devotee being criticized. These days, it is very fashionable to criticize devotees and the spiritual master and advanced devotees. But a sincere devotee, the moment he hears criticism, one should run away from that place. Because by hearing criticism of advanced devotees, one gets contaminated. Just like if somebody is sneezing all the time, then you don't want to stand next to him, isn't it? Because you may also catch the cold. So if you're standing next to somebody who's criticizing, then it will affect your Krishna consciousness. So if somebody is criticizing, you tell him, Prabhu, I know this is Vaishnava path, I'm not so advanced as you. So hi Krishna, I can't stand next to you. So let him criticize to the wall. But don't hear any blasphemy. Then the devotee should avoid reading newspapers or mundane magazines. You don't read mundane magazines at all. If you have to read, you only read because it's necessary, because you want to know something. But not when you get attached to reading mundane literature. Then the devotee, 20th point, he should not give anxiety to anyone, either by word, or by mind, or by action. You must act in such a manner that you don't give trouble to anyone for your existence on this planet. You don't even trouble an ant. A devotee does not want to trouble anyone. So we should speak very politely with everyone. We should act in a perfect Vaishnava behavior. And you should not even think bad about other people. If you're thinking bad about other Vaishnavas, that is not good. If you're talking badly about other Vaishnavas, that is not good. And certainly you should not act in a manner that you will give saying to somebody else. Sometimes the body speaks very rudely, and that's not good. That is not Vaishnava behavior. Vaishnava behavior is a very gentle, soft behavior. And so, once you do, no Vaishnava. Of course, this doesn't mean that we don't correct the mistake. I already discussed this point yesterday. We do correct the mistake, but we also follow Vaishnava behavior. So, these are some of the guidelines that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us how we can make spiritual advancement. And by keeping these guidelines in mind, we will be able to make spiritual advancement. So to summarize this verse, Maharaj Vishwadev, in the verse that we have discussed today, is pointing out that we should not do anything that is not related to Krishna. We should not associate with worldly-minded people. And certainly those who are in the high-fuller ashram of life, they should take care of the wife and children, but only to the extent necessary and not beyond that. In other words, we must develop the spirit of vairagya. We must have detachment. Before coming to spiritual life, we were attached to everything, isn't it? We were attached to this body, we were attached to the extensions of the body, we were attached to what we possess, we were attached to our society. We had nothing but attachment, one mantra, attachment. Now when you come to spiritual life, your mantra is detachment. You understand? So how do you develop detachment? You develop detachment by serving the advanced Vaishnava, listening from the advanced Vaishnava, following the process of devotional service, and then you can cultivate detachment. Otherwise you cannot cultivate detachment. Just like if you want to develop love of God, you cannot just develop love of God without following the process. Like in India, if you go to Vrindavan, you may see a lot of sahajyas. Sahajya means those who cry, they will roll on the ground, they will put all mud on their face, as if they love Krishna, but at the same time they will smoke and do everything else. You follow? So our process is not the sahajya process. Our process is the scientific process. That is, we practice vairagya, we develop detachment by following the process of sadhana bhakti, and then we get to the stage where we can develop love of God. So we should be very attentive in the execution of devotional service, and then we will be able to achieve the goal which we had discussed earlier, which is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And if you execute devotional service carefully, then you can reach the stage where you always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, how are neophyte devotees? Can abandon. You're neophyte in the beginning, but you're not neophyte all your life. Just like all these children here are learning to write A, B, C, D. But you don't expect that after 10 years in school, they'll still be able to write only A, B, C, D. So we're all neophytes in the beginning, but then you have to start making advancements. You can't go on sucking your thumb all your life like a baby, isn't it? Then everybody will laugh at you. So we're neophytes, but if we take to this process, then we'll begin to advance. I don't know. Does that answer your question? If you have scriptural knowledge, then you will not develop artificial renunciation. You must have scriptural knowledge. Therefore we recommend that you must hear the Bhagavatam class. Because if you hear the Bhagavatam class, then you will be able to develop vairagya. Yes, but continuous. It is not that it goes in spurts. For 2 years you make advancement, then for 5 years you go down, then after 2 years again you go up, and then it's not right. The economic cycle, boom, recession, boom, recession, boom, recession. Like now they said there's a recession, and then there'll be a boom. There shouldn't be any spiritual recession. You'll understand what recession means? Recession means that everything goes backwards. Okay. Questions? Yes? How do you go become qualified? Well, we have a certain process in ISKCON. Our process is one should chant the Hare Krishna mantra for a period of 1 year. One should attend the classes, associate with devotees, take a certain basic examination, and then one becomes qualified. Of course, even when a devotee is qualified, he doesn't think he's qualified. A devotee should always have the feeling that I'm not qualified, but it is the causeless mercy of the Lord that is coming down to the spiritual master that is giving me the opportunity to make spiritual advancement. Otherwise, the moment a devotee gets initiated, he'll become very proud. Oh, now I'm a big man. A devotee never thinks he's a big man, even if he's a sannyasi. Even when Prabhupada was leaving the planet, he said, oh, I've done nothing at all. I just followed my spiritual master's orders, but I did nothing at all. The devotee, even if he's qualified, even if he knows everything, he'll always say, I don't even have a drop of love of God. You understand? Then he'll always try harder. Okay? Yes. Yeah. The wonderful thing in ISKCON is that those who become weak, they're always judging those who are advanced. And they're always giving their purport on different advanced devotees. There's so many of these people who are always criticizing, you understand? So we should be very careful. We should remember what Jesus Christ said. Jesus Christ said, before you throw a stone, you have to look in your own house. Isn't it? So we should be very careful before we criticize. And as devotees, when you come across people who are always doing like this, then you should stay away from them. The problem is that we don't have much of a taste for Krishna. You know, we have a taste for prajalpa. Prajalpa means mature thought. So when you see others doing prajalpa, you know, it really gives us great joy. Like when we see that some other devotee is having trouble, instead of crying, we are very happy. See, I'm so advanced, but he's having trouble. But actually when you see that some other devotee is having trouble, then you should become very sorry for that devotee. You follow? And you should see, how can I help him? We don't want to see any member of the Lord's community go back to Maya. More questions? Yes, when you talk about loss and gain, it refers to material loss and gain. But of course, spiritual loss and gain, like for example, sometimes you may go out and book distribution, you may do very good. Sometimes you may not do well. You understand? So when you don't do well, you don't lament that why did you go out, but you should just think, oh, it's my impurity, so I should work hard and get purified. You understand? In other words, the devotee should use every opportunity to make more advancement. Any more questions? Good question. Well, one is not alone. One should consult the spiritual master. When the spiritual master is not around, one can consult other advanced Vaishnavas. And these days, in days of fax and telexes, in 1 minute you can communicate with anyone. So one is never alone. You understand? One should just be honest and frankly express his heart, and one should take direction. One is never alone. If we want to be alone, we are alone. Otherwise we are in these days of rapid telecommunication, you can never be alone. No, but Prabhupada very clearly says in the purport, and Maharaj Ishwara says, one should not avoid his duty. A grihastha, if he has wife, children, he must do his duty, sure. But he should do it without compromising on the spiritual standard. That is the important thing. You follow? Okay? So, okay, last question from Mahatma. Then we'll talk for 5 minutes about something like that. So, I follow. We have to become extremely tolerant. More tolerant than a tree. If you are very tolerant, then even if you see somebody falls, you will tolerate. Just like when the mother is bringing up a young child, the child will wake up in the night and cry every day. But the mother tolerates it, you understand? So, serving Krishna is a burden of love. So when it's a burden of love, then you can tolerate it, you understand? Because whatever you tolerate, you're tolerating it just to give pleasure to the spiritual master, Vaishnavas and Krishna. So Krishna, when he sees, oh, this devotee just to please me is going through all this effort, I must do something for this devotee. Just like if you have a friend who is going through a lot of difficulty for you, then you feel obliged to that person, isn't it? So, we want to request that today we must take part in the book. Yesterday it was very nice. I heard the scores, it was very nice that Krishna and Anumati distributed total what? How many books? 10, 12? Very good. Don't feel bad, it was very good. It was very nice. How many hours did you all go out for? 4 or 5 hours? Anyway, it was very good. You know, when Bhakti Siddhanta Ji was on the planet, he would send his disciples, they would come back with only one bookstore. And he would still say very nice. So it is very nice. I'm sure the deities look so happy today because they are hearing that some people in Montreal got their books yesterday. So, even if you come back with one book sold, the Radha Manohar and Prabhupada will be very, very happy. So, we want to expand the marathon now. So, today I think some more devotees are going to go out. Martina, Udayankur, Boku the Devor, Allah Ashram. Isini? On for commence Sankirtan Ojumi? Okay. So, today we're going to have some more devotees going out. And from Monday, your temple president is also going to go out with Nanda Sudha. Oh, Bhagavatam. Well, I took orders for 2 Bhagavatam sets. The 2 Bhagavatam sets is $900, Lakshmi points. Now you have to order the sets and deliver the sets. But on the marathon, I do 1 set a day wherever I am. That's my quota. So I did that in Washington and in Toronto. I was doing 1 set a day. So yesterday Krishna was extra merciful. So he did 2 Bhagavatam sets, 12 cantos. Huh? 4? Well, if you give your mercy, Ghosh Thakur, maybe it will be possible. If we have Ghosh Thakur's mercy, then it's possible. Not otherwise. So, we just want to request that everyone please take this Prabhupada marathon very seriously. So today, how many devotees are going to go at Nityananda? 3. 4. Very good. I'm sure Lucy is going to do a lot of books and Martina also. They're both bilingual, so they can speak to both in French and English. So please just meditate how we can do book distribution. Please, like I said in my class today, our philosophy is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So when you're going out in book distribution, you should only be thinking how you're going to deliver Krishna. How you're going to deliver Krishna. And if the meditation is how you're going to deliver Krishna, then you're automatically associating with Krishna. There's one other devotee who is doing book distribution but in his own way. And that is King Kula Shekhar. I know that Kula Shekhar is meditating how to do book distribution. But Kula Shekhar is on a painting marathon always. But with a painting marathon, the Lakshmi gives to Krishna. So, that is also book distribution. You follow? Because you're doing that service for Krishna, not for yourself. So just meditate how you can drop these bombs in every people's hand. These are transcendental bombs because at any time these bombs can explode. And when they explode, they will destroy the material desires. So just see how Prabhupada would go out. Even in old age, Prabhupada was doing book distribution. You know, before Prabhupada came to the West, He would write the books, print the books. He had to go and collect the money for the books, buy the papers, and then go out and distribute the books himself. Once in Delhi, in Connaught Place, Prabhupada was distributing a book, and he was distributing his Bhakti Godhead magazine. And he had a sunstroke. At that time, Prabhupada was about 70 years old. And he fainted in Connaught Place in Delhi. Then as soon as Prabhupada came back to consciousness, again he started distributing books. So, preaching is our philosophy. What is our philosophy? Preaching is the essence. What's that? Preaching is the essence. Books are the basis. Purity is the utility is the principle. So these are the 4 points that Prabhupada gave us. Preaching is the essence. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Nityananda, Jari Dako Tahe Kaho Krishna Upadesh. Wherever you see, tell him about Krishna. So wherever you go, you meet people. We should not think that people don't want to hear about Krishna. Everybody wants to hear about Krishna. That's wrong. I travel on the planes, everywhere. I say Hare Krishna, everybody responds by saying Hare Krishna. Even on the air cannon, the air hostess and all, they all say Hare Krishna and they respond to me. So it's just that you have to be determined to look for every opportunity to preach, and Krishna will give you unlimited opportunities for preaching. So preaching is the essence. So we are preaching through the medium of book distribution. When you give someone a book, you are giving Prabhupada, Bhakti-Siddhanta-ji, Vyasadev and Krishna an entry into their house. Isn't it? Am I right? Just like these days in every street corner you have the big video shops, isn't it? People are going to buy those videos. So they take the videos home. So when you give them a book, it is just like giving them a video. Because you're giving entry to the whole disciplined procession into their house. And even if they don't read a book today, they'll definitely read it tomorrow. So there's no problem. We just have to be determined. And if you're determined and you're enthusiastic, then you'll be able to move mountains. How many Gitas did we do yesterday, Krishna? Anyway, please, that was very good. So please continue with the effort, and Lord Chaitanya will give you his blessing. So preaching is the essence, books are the basis. We preach to the medium of the book. And utility is the principle. So sometimes to sell the book, you may have to say some sweet lines or whatever, but you have to be a little practical, I'm sure you will say it has yoga and this and that. You can't talk too much about pure devotional practice. But utility is the principle. And what's the last one? That is the last one. So, and purity is the force. So, we chant every morning and we read, we hear, and that makes us pure, and by purity we can go and preach. Okay?